Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be playing some more Dimir Skeletons. This is a fun archetype as Skeletons is never typically going to be seen as like a strong creature type like humans has been, or like merfolk, or even fairies at times in standard. But overall Skeletons is kind of just like the oddball out, the C tier kind of creatures, but we do get to find a really fun way to play it in standard, and that is basically all on the back of Corpse of the Lost. I'll move it back over so we can see it a little bit easier. But Corpse of the Lost Skeletons you control get a 1/0 and have haste. Whenever it enters battlefield, it makes a 2/2 as well, and we can also return it back to our hand if we descend this turn by paying 1 life. And then that essentially allows us to make a token threat over and over and over again, which is pretty hard for like control decks to keep up with if they're not necessarily holding a counterspell. They're just removing stuff. So mono black comes to mind whenever they're like, oh, cut down your creature, and you're like, well, I've descended, so I'll put this back in our hand and we'll play it again. Outside of that, we have a lot of skeletons in the deck to kind of benefit off that or have other beneficial triggers. For example, Forsaken Miner can come back from the graveyard. Tinybones can cast our opponent's spells. This actually casts a Virtue or Persistence in today's video, which is kind of insane. I didn't think that was going to happen in our kind of low to the ground aggro deck with 20 lands, but somehow we cast a Virtue or Persistence with this card. We have Mockingbird, which isn't a skeleton, but it's a skeleton. Case of the Stash Skeleton, which also makes us one, and then obviously Corpse makes them. And then Gutless Plunderer, just kind of a look at the top 3. We can keep one on top of our library if we want. If not, they can all go in the graveyard. And then kind of some support cards in Death Baron and Gix. Outside of that, we have other supporting cards, being a Into the Flood Maw. We have the Dispersal. Dispersal is nice with the Surveil, because if we do see a Forsaken Miner, we can just put it in the graveyard and hopefully bring it back later for kind of that 1 black mana. Phantom Interference to counter the board wipes whenever needed, and 3 cut downs and a go for the throat, so we're not just dead to mono reds 1-drop. We do at some point have removal for the creatures. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and dive right into the game, see how they go, and I hope you all enjoy. I got the Maw. Yeah, this hand seems much better. Keep Blood Maw go, I guess. It's like cut down can remove a lower ground threat permanently. Blood Maw is just like a bounce temporarily. Now, obviously, if you're asking me what card I would prefer in the late game, forgot that was just going to be an island. So now our turn's kind of staggered in a way. This just doesn't work out the worst way it's ever worked out before, but obviously we'd much rather have like chip in damage while we can. Against Golgari. It seems to be Golgari. Good. We're doing this to counter the virtue, by the way, if you're curious. Because without that resolving, you notice it didn't go to the adventure zone. They don't gain any life. And I draw my 3rd Tinybones in a row. It's not in a row, but I draw the 3rd Tinybones. Now if they virtue this, it's just not a whole lot we can do about it. But if this Tinybones was, I don't know, any other creature, we'd be much happier. Terra Sunder come up. Now Corpse is kind of whatever. Obviously it's gone. We'd like to draw another one, but everything's getting removed out. There's a Lord at least. Play it, and then we'll play a Tinybones. We'll at least have 4 damage on board. And if they do put a permanent in play, then maybe we can cast it. Thing has double death touch. Because of this. Does that mean anything? Absolutely not. It means literally nothing, but that's okay. It's allowed to mean nothing, right? But what do we got going on? 2nd Virtue, that one resolves. That. 3rd Tinybones. Maybe they'll have 3rd Virtue. Then we get stuff in play. If this ends up going away, then we get to resolve this. We'll probably have to go grab another Corpse of the Lost. Or it's probably like Corpse of the Lost or nothing, really. Up to Beanstalk. A little farther behind than what I would figure we'd want to play it. But obviously there's been things on the battlefield that they've had to answer. And answer they've had 5 removal spells. The 14. I would like to cast that. See, Arena can't feed me just lands now, because eventually I'll just cast their Virtue. If they just give me lands every turn. Plus our Tinybones obviously stays alive. You go to combat. Back here. I just leave the Tinybones back because there's a possibility of the land coming up. Can prioritize removing this. They do. Now this will be solved. I get to play a Plunder. Put one of these into my hand. Or leave one on top of your library, one in the hand. It's kind of hard to pass on the Gix here, I think. So I think I am going to take the Gix. Because I can play it, maybe draw 2 cards, and then tutor. This is a weird thing. They could demo field me here, but they go for a Virtue, sure. Not even really sure what they bring back, but okay. Here's a Gix. 2 draws here. We don't know what we'll have to tutor quite yet. We can just like wait and make a choice after. Yeah, see, like getting this Plunder in play is significantly better than I think tutoring right now. Leave one of these on top so we can do Tinybones. So I guess actually, should it be Flood Maw? They're only going to return one of our creatures, so we can actually bounce that creature back to our hand. So we leave a Flood Maw on top. Now, obviously, they can demo field us if that's what they want to do. Put a Death Toucher down. So in theory, we kind of can get that Tinybones back for free anyway, unless they demo field us. Then stuff will happen. But we can stack this, get a corpse. Kind of a lot to do. Back here. Corpse does seem like the best card, and it's not particularly close, I think. We won't get to play the Tinybones here, but we'll get to play Corpse, pick Corpse back up at the end of the turn. And we're putting a lot of pressure on the board. Combat. Yeah, they end up doing this. They do 2 mana there, sure. It's now gone. Attack. Stop after blockers. Stop after attacker. I'll bounce this back to our hand. Then now the thing is like, I don't know if they're going to block with the cottage anyway, but we're going to put a Tinybones in our hand and we're going to draw 3 at minimum here. Like I might as well just draw as many cards as I can. Not really a reason not to. Obviously no way to cast anything. Yes. Yes. And yep. Sweet. Play this line tapped. Now everything in our hand's playable for sure. Even with a top deck corpse, that's what 3, 2, 2, maybe 1. But Tinybones doesn't have to be played because obviously we have one of those already. Okay. It kind of answered to our, not our deck, but kind of the Omniscience decks and stuff in general. You go for Beanstalk, looking for an extra draw. Obviously. But they go for Beanstalk for the draw. They gain a life. They're at 9. They have land to block. They have the other land to block. They think they have Gix, but they do not. Tinybones hit, I can always cast Virtue. Is this 4, 8? Let's see what happens here, I guess. Attack out. 5 making contact. Okay. Barrel this. I'm sure they can bring it back, but I'd much rather my creature be able to attack next turn. Blocks have already been declared, so nothing really can come of it. Play a case, and then we'll play a Tinybones. This Mirac's token doesn't matter to us at all. Yeah, I guess it does, because they can, like, attack, maybe draw a card if they bring back Gix. That mean we block? Alright. We have something good, something bad. The best card, the worst card. I don't know about that one, Chief. Is that how much they had to do it to draw? Enough? I mean, sure, I suppose. I said I don't know about that, but maybe that's the correct call, to be honest. It was 5 mana, draw 6, I think. Well, no. They played a bean. No, it was 5 mana, draw 6. So they played a beanstalk. I mean, it's an alright card. They're stuck in a weird spot. They didn't attack with the Mirac's either. See if they would get like a free card draw, because they can't block, so it's not really a reason not to attack. It took a land from us, dude. Fair. Sure. Yeah. Got card a lot too. No? You have lethal if we don't block. They take the draw, which tells us a lot. Which just give us a little bit better chance at lethal. Attack? No reason to hold back. Sure. Play now, boss. Okay. Down to 1. Never did I think I was casting a Virtue or Persistence. I don't even know what I'll be able to bring back. Probably Death Baron, I guess. I don't know. Seems like a very weird game that's happened this far. Now they can activate Gix's ability and cast cards for free. And they can definitely get us from there, because we do have Corpse of the Lost that can give Skeletons haste, and if they have enough things kind of hit with that, and they're good, I guess. But there's 3 in the exile, so it's realistically not likely to hit on just 4 cards with 30 cards left in our deck, so I don't know. And Lifeline, they're up to 2. Now Tinybones can't do it. Technically. So right now. I'm gonna take 1 card draw, go to 1. 1 to 1 is some criminal activity for sure. Okay. Fair enough. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. My headphones are dying apparently. Decided to beep in my ear really loud. We're dying, so we're gonna make a huge noise. Sure. Go only on top, so not like the cards in their hand currently. Unless they have a way to draw, of course. Probably got to be the Death Baron, like we said, because it also gives their Skeletons Death Touch. But my headphone cable won't plug in. Death Baron. You could also have Cease, I guess. It is a card that they played that could exile. Oh, double Death Baron. Alright, cool. Baron. Discard, by the way. Combat. Block out. I guess they don't have to block out. They can use their land, but they're gonna want to save their land most likely. But with 2 Death Barons, it's kind of funny because now they both get like they both see each other, so they're a little bit bigger, a little bit bolder, ready to go. Sure. Menace, so there's a double block, and then Gix obviously has to block as well. Doesn't really matter how the block goes down. And then our case gets resolved. Then we can go grab our final corpse unless our opponent steals it from us. Definitely possible. What a whack game. Game 1 and we're down, I don't know, we're 15 minutes in. I have a Virtue or Persistence in play that I cast from my opponent's graveyard. Seems exactly like the way I figured I'd play this game. They put in the second Virtue down, that'd be so gross. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Like a reasonable block to me. It's not pumped anymore. Or was never pumped before. It's just my creature doesn't have 2 toughness. Or 1 power. What am I saying? It doesn't have 1 toughness. Holy cow. They're at 3. My Virtue happens to trigger now. Again, skeletons are going to have haste potentially here. So I guess the biggest one is just you. All right. Solve this. I mean, I feel like it has to be the corpse. Corpse. With 3 creatures on the battlefield, it almost feels like I shouldn't play this just in case, but I'm going to regardless. You have 3rd Terra Sunder for this corpse. It'd be kind of crazy playing that many copies of Terra Sunder, even though I'm a huge fan of Terra Sunder. I think it's a really, really underrated card. No, they play 3rd. Do you have the 4th copy? Holy. I thought I was joking. But we get there. What a grindy game that became. At no point did I think game 1 with skeletons was just going to be, hey man, you're going to play a really slow grindy game. And you're going to cast their Virtue while they also have a Virtue in play. And you're going to have to figure out how to win that game. And I'm like, okay. Very cool. We move on. All right. So we play a threat turn 1. Remove their threat on turn 2. And then win the game. Smile. Land. Threat. Little doodad's going to go all the way. I can see it in his future. Look at him. Ready. See? We have to remove that immediately. Obviously, we'll give him the option to block. I actually thought they did for a second. Might as well wait. It'll be like a Sheltered by Ghost moment here. Seen a lot of people do that before. They just like absorb the creature or whatnot, but we'll see what happens. Or try to anyway, because then they can take a threat off the board while also protecting theirs, but we'll never let that really happen. We'll remove this because this creature just will stay as big as their board is. We can always bounce it next turn. We're going in for a lot of damage. We're going to put in 6 this turn because I don't think there's a way they block. And if they do, they're already losing a ton of tempo. So best draw here by far is land, and it's not even particularly close. Because if we get land, we can then Mockingbird and play Corpse of the Lost. Or we can Flood Maw, play Mockingbird, or play Flood Maw and Corpse of the Lost. Kind of like, I don't know. It's a bit weird. Even though another 1-drop or 2-drop creature is actually fine. Preferably a 1-drop. If we find like a Tinybones, then we can Mockingbird, Tinybones, go from there. There's Flood Maw. The corpse is a bad idea, in my opinion. Okay, fair enough. And they attack. They go to 11. We find land. Not exactly what we were looking for in terms of like effective land. But I just don't know how they beat 9 this turn and then a ton next turn as well. But also, if I just have lethal here, actually. If I Flood Maw, do they get? Is it tap? So they get a tap fish, and then I court. Yeah, we just have lethal actually, because of the fact that our corpse will make another creature here. 1 ETB, we make another creature. They have haste, and then we do pay 0, confirm, auto pay, I guess. Here, and then we get to attack for 12. Very cool. Slowed it down a second. Found the lethal. Very cool thing to do. Whenever you can do it, obviously. I thought that token that Flood Maw made entered untapped at first. So I was like, well, they still get a block, and then they get to Shelter by Ghost again. But the fact that it enters untapped means, you know, we get the extra free token and also get to attack them. So very cool. We'll move on. All right, opponent goes first. Hand's fine though. We'll keep. A lot of things to do. Red. How'd I get so lucky to play against red? But here we get to play a Forsaken Miner, play another one, bounce their creature. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't block anyway, right? Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Who knows? Honestly, I should just bring the one back, right? They're definitely going to attack me. Ah, Manifold Mouse. Could never be a Manifold Mouse. Weirdly enough, we returned that and just... Oh, is it only attacking creature? Oh, okay. Oops. Either way. Back. One land is probably fine. Another one of these. I'll play this. I think we just have to be all out aggressive here. To 6, setting them down to 14. We're at 17. We definitely could die here, but there was no pause before, which makes me feel like there's not a ton to come into play here. Okay. Here. Double strike, trample, double strike, trample, double strike, trample. Take 3 on that turn. I've definitely experienced worse. Play Forsaken Miner. Play Corpse. Corpse is an incredible draw. How much is it? 4, 8, 12, 16. Again, they haven't even tried going for lethal, so I feel like they just don't have it. Because if they had lethal, they would just like a monstrous raise the Manifold Mouse last turn. But obviously, if they could top deck it, that's very possible. Screaming Nemesis, okay. Well, what's the plan now, boss? Have enough to block 1. They could have removal, but double case is going to make that impossible. Yes. Yes. All in. And I don't want to say we out-aggroed the aggro deck, but we out-creatured the aggro deck, I guess. Because the thing is like, the turn that they untapped with the Manifold Mouse in play, a Monstrous Rage alone would have had that thing hit us for 8. And then any burn spell would have been good. They kind of flooded and whatnot. So it's a little bit weird to say, oh, we definitely had it. But very easily could have lost that game too. Alright, going first here. Pretty good. The only real issue is our Verge is only on the blue side. But it should be fine. Having a Darkslick Shores along with like a Cavern because this will be the black mana we need for a case, but we can also name Cavern on like Phyrexian for Gix if that's where we really want to be, which might be. So we'll hold off on playing the Cavern and don't want to name Skeleton right away and then just like be stuck in the exact same thing we just talked about. If they go for up to Beanstalk, we definitely just slam a Gix and then we take 2 draws almost over anything, even a Corpse of the Lost. I think Gix is probably where I'm going to end up being. Kellen, an extra land drop Kellen? It's a doppelgang deck? Ah, game, why do you test me like that? So I figured bounce was going to be it, but this seems like a big ramp deck. So honestly, more aggro seems better. If I play Gix and it gets bounced, that's just worse, right? Let's play this. Let's slam a corpse. So I take everything back. I'm just a liar. Now we put them to 11. And now we just have kind of like solid pressure to kind of keep them from going over the top of us if we can finish the game quick enough here. The problem with Gix is right there we would have done 3 damage. But if they're the Beanstalk, like Talarian Terror deck, we have time as long as we can go wide against that deck, because they can only single target bounce so many times before it's just not enough. Okay. Well, that should do it. We'll just do Skeleton. I'll play a Plunder. Then I'll play this. We'll put it on this. And we'll attack. And we have exactly 11. Because this, obviously they block one of the 3 power creatures. And then that's 3, 6, 9, 11. Tough words to say back to back. Yeah, just... I mean... Problem being by turn 4, they just made a clue and had Kellen. If you look at the difference in spells cast, like quite the difference on our turn 4. Well, I guess that was their turn 3, right? Because they accelerated, but I don't feel like our opponent's coming back, so we'll just have to wait. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I guess they timed out and it auto hit them, so yeah, they left. All right, we go first. I mean, we have plenty of 1-drops, so we'll keep. Land into a corpse would be the best. We start off with Forsaken Miner because we have no removal, so there's no like cut down a creature, hit them with Tinybones and take it. I don't want to hear a word, dude. I don't want to hear a single word. Cut down that now. They seem like the fling deck, so we don't want to give them any time. We play Tinybones after because they could have removed Tinybones with the Scamp. Because that one can go to anything. It's not like the hero. Second Tinybones, sure. Hit. Cast. Then we probably die to the Slick Shot. Slick Shots only needs like Monstrous Rage plus Fling to win, which is kind of crazy to think about, especially with 3 mana. Like there's a very good chance that we lose. All right, Coyote. Huh. I might as well play that post-combat. We're not going to activate Gix here at all. Going to hold the Scamp back as well. I feel like it's a much better play to have it maybe as an extra blocker. Use it as a little bit more toughness. Yes, I put the Phantom Interference on top. If I'm not dead this turn and they go for like maybe another setup turn, we might be able to find value. But I doubt it here. Yeah, there's the Slick Shot. Here's probably a Coyote, I would imagine. Target creature control gets 1/1, gains haste. which would give technically Slick Shot that last little value it needed with us being at 19. Did they fall a little short? Obviously, we're going to block the Coyote. But... Alright. That's 6. One more spell and a fling, and they're there. Here. I mean, oops. Oh. Yeah, I think I'm done. I think I'm done for today. All right, everyone, here we are. This is what we ended on in terms of like what our configuration of the deck was. We do have a lot more 1-drops than what it seems. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, we have a ton of 1-drops here, but if it's kind of split out like normal, it looks like this, and it looks really weird. So it's kind of like, well, actually, this is a 2-mana spell. This is a 1-mana spell, and like the way they play is a little bit different because you're playing these kind of on 2 mana instead of 1. So it gets a little bit more awkward. But yeah, Death Baron is a card that I've played quite a bit, and it's a lord that is good. Just the fact that it does literally nothing if it's the only creature you play, and it's not even that threatening of a creature. Like Gix is a lot more threatening because if it hits you, you draw cards, right? Like it has more value. It also starts higher if you have a lot of mana, like we did in game 1. Like it just becomes a more viable threat or things like that. I also thought about, I can't remember his name, but I also thought about playing this again. Karavak? Yeah, like going back to like a Karavak crime deck, because it always felt good when I was doing this. With kind of how many target effects I have, especially with Tinybones kind of doing it for free for us. I do enjoy playing this card. I just wasn't entirely sold on it quite yet to go back to. Especially with like a new set dropping, maybe we'll find some other good like 3-drop piece that we can play. With that said, overall, the deck's just fun. I think this deck's always fit more of the fun category than like, oh, this is the most competitive, super hyper aggro deck that you should be playing. It's just, Skeletons has always been kind of fun whenever you get to play the wacky archetype. Like, I think Zombies has always fit that category. Fairies has typically always fit that category of a deck that's like probably for the most part never going to be tier 1. Also Merfolk and Humans was there for a while, but Merfolk's like another one, at least in standards perspective, or like modern, like Merfolk and modern is, it tries every time, dude, and it just falls short every time. But Skeletons is just one of those oddball like C tier archetypes or creature types that you're like, yeah, when is Skeletons ever going to be good? And we're like, well, we can win some games with it. We can try. People have hit Mythic with it before, so it's definitely fine enough in best of 1, and it does have enough pressure whenever it comes to Corpse of the Lost to actually get there. So with that said, I don't really have much more to say outside of that. This is just kind of where we're at in the meta, you know. Season reset, you know, a lot new set coming soon. Not a whole lot of creativity left until we, you know, get the new drop. But with that said, I hope you all enjoyed it anyway, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.